Severe thunderstorms are expected across the United States over the next few days. They will bring damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes, in addition to torrential downpours, which could cause localized flash flooding. Major heat wave is building, especially across the desert southwest, where record high temperatures and record low temperatures are expected, and your tropical weather update at the end of this video. Thank you all for being here. If you are here, make sure to subscribe to the channel as we do daily weather forecast breakdowns right here. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Let's look at the slight risk of severe weather that continues across the mid-Atlantic coast as we go through this evening into the overnight hours. That's where scattered severe thunderstorms are possible. New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and eastern Virginia. Areas from Trenton, New Jersey into Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Dover, all the way down into Richmond, Virginia are included in the threat for scattered severe thunderstorms this evening into the overnight hours, where damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes are possible. In the dark green, we have isolated chance of severe thunderstorms from Boston, Hartford, and Providence all the way down here into the Raleigh-Durham areas and into Columbia, South Carolina. Also isolated strong to severe storms remain possible across the southern plains toward the mid-Mississippi Valley. For areas near Amarillo, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, getting into the St. Louis region, Paducah, and Clarksville, Tennessee, in the mix there through the evening and overnight hours. The main threats will be for damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour, most probable in the yellow here. This encompasses the Trenton region, New York City, including western Long Island, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Dover, all the way down into the Richmond, Virginia area. Be on high alert for that. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds can cause wind damage as far as tree branches are concerned, uprooting trees, and even taking down power lines as well. Up to 60 mile per hour winds is most likely over here into Amarillo, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, into the St. Louis area, Little Rock, Clarksville, Paducah, and even up into Springfield, Illinois. We have the threat for some quarter-size hail remaining possible in the high plains, especially across portions of the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, including Amarillo, over to Oklahoma City and Tulsa, up there through Dodge City, Kansas, and east of Denver, all the way up into the panhandle in Nebraska. Watching out for the threat of some damaging hail, and the tornado threat is low. It's less than 2% in all areas across the United States through the remainder of this evening and into the overnight hours. Let's first talk about the slight risk. This is the area that has the isolated to even scattered coverage of severe thunderstorms. We have those ongoing across a large chunk of the mid-Atlantic coast here of New Jersey down into Delaware and Maryland here this evening. That will continue over the next few hours until around midnight, and then we'll start to see the coverage and intensity of those storms really waning as we lose, for one, the daytime heating, and two, we are just going to see those storms moving off the coast and into the western Atlantic at this point, and that's why we're seeing the storms exit off the mid-Atlantic coast. By the time we reach the 7 a.m. time frame, as you're heading off to work or running any errands tomorrow morning, things should be pretty dry across the mid-Atlantic coast as we go into Wednesday morning. Here in the central U.S., we have some ongoing showers and storms, most likely there into Arkansas, eastern Texas, another cluster up there into central and southern Illinois, currently here at 6 o'clock this evening. And as we go into the early mid-evening hours, we're going to see the coverage and intensity of these storms actually waning as well. Again, we're losing the daytime heating as the sun is setting, and we don't have a lot of wind shear to keep these storms organized and going deep into the night. So we're going to lose that storm coverage and intensity as we go through the midnight hour and then thereafter. Yes, there could be a couple isolated and sporadic downpours with some lightning, but other than that, going into your Wednesday morning, most of us in the central U.S. should be pretty quiet. Going here into Wednesday, tomorrow, there is a slight risk of severe weather, again, back into portions of the mid-Atlantic coast, into southern Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, into portions of Maryland, Virginia, getting down to the central Carolinas. So again, back into the Dover area, Washington, D.C., and Philly and Baltimore, all the way back into Richmond and Roanoke, and even the Raleigh area included. And then another slight risk over there into the central Dakotas. We're watching areas near Rapid City, Fargo, Bismarck. We're keeping a very close eye on that as we go into Wednesday. Threats are going to be as follows. Could be potentially 70 mile per hour wind gusts again, especially into the central Dakotas. Also from the Carolinas getting into the mid-Atlantic, including the Delmarva region. That could actually lead to some tree branches, some uprooted trees that could be broken. and obviously some power outages as well. And then there's a significant hail risk tomorrow across the central and western Dakotas near Rapid City, especially in Pierre, South Dakota. That's where we could be seeing upwards to tennis ball size hail as we go through the height of the storms. And there's an added 2% chance of tornadoes in the central Dakotas there, where we could have a spin up tornado or two as we go through the afternoon and evening on Wednesday. Plenty of storm energy to go around. Over 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability. That's what we characterize as extreme levels of storm energy. So there's going to be no shortage of storm energy. Once these storms get going, they could produce significant severe weather, especially that significant hail up to tennis ball size, in addition to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts and an isolated tornado or two. Here at 7 a.m., got a couple of isolated showers, maybe a storm out there, especially northeastern Nebraska. Going into the midday hours, things are quiet, maybe a thunderstorm in southeastern or eastern parts of the state of Nebraska. And then as we go into the mid-afternoon, we're talking between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. That's when we're going to have initiation of some severe thunderstorms on an isolated to eventually a scattered scale. And that will be covering South Dakota into the Nebraska Panhandle and western Nebraska. And then that will take us into the early evening hours where a couple of clusters could develop, and they will be dropping from northwest to southeast through South Dakota and into Nebraska, and they could be posing risk for hail, winds, and a few tornadoes, in addition to some torrential, very heavy rainfall, and you know that could cause some flash flooding, and that will continue to drop its way down into the Kansas City area and Topeka, eventually towards the Wichita region overnight Wednesday and into Thursday morning on a weakening trend. Looking here at the heavy rainfall potential, there will be areas that miss out on a lot of the storms or all the storms, and there will be some areas that get over an inch or two of rain with a complex or cluster of storms that develops here into South Dakota, eventually dropping through Nebraska into western Iowa, northeastern and northern Kansas, and then getting into northwestern Missouri. That is the area of concern. Now looking here at the mid-Atlantic, plenty of storm energy over here as well tomorrow, over 3,000 joules per kilogram. So once storms develop, by the time we get towards the late afternoon hours, we're going to start to see those storms developing further west into West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, western Maryland, and Virginia there. These storms will grow upscale into what we call a cluster or a line, and that means damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour should be the main threat here, because you're seeing a line of storms, but embedded hail and a very low tornado risk will accompany these storms, in addition to torrential heavy downpours. And then once we get into the overnight hours, still some showers and storms residing across the mid-Atlantic, but the strongest of the storms will be off the mid-Atlantic coast at this point, not before dropping very heavy rainfall. Could be seeing 2 to 4 inches of rain here, and especially where we get that line of storms, and that's where we could be seeing some localized and sporadic flash flooding across areas of Maryland, Delaware, southern Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, and even trailing down into the central Carolinas there as well. Going into Thursday, July 10th, slight risk, double barrel area of scattered severe thunderstorms possible. The first area into eastern North Dakota, northwest Minnesota, another area from southern and southeastern South Dakota into western Iowa, northwest Missouri, northern Kansas, and the majority of the Cornhusker state of Nebraska. We also have a marginal risk from the northeast down again into the Carolinas, including the southeast on Thursday. Main threats again will be for damaging winds and hail, but a few tornadoes will be possible, especially up here into the northern plains and upper Midwest, where we have a couple of thunderstorm clusters developing, one over here into Nebraska, another one potentially from Iowa into southwest Wisconsin, and then closer to the low pressure system, we could have some stronger storms as well Thursday afternoon, and then going into Thursday evening and eventually trailing into Thursday night. That will continue across the northern United States. Once we get into the end of the week, we are watching for more significant round of severe weather perhaps by Friday, July 11th across the Midwest. This could include areas from Chicago up into Milwaukee, Des Moines, Rockford, Quincy, Peoria, and areas near Kirksville, Missouri. Keeping an eye on that for the potential of a cluster of showers and storms developing. Peak heating Friday afternoon going into Friday evening. The Storm Prediction Center currently doesn't have a risk out here for Friday, but damaging winds, hail, and embedded tornadoes will be possible. Again, torrential downpours will be a threat with these storms with the tropical moisture. Then going into the weekend, the severe thunderstorm risk will shift down across the southern plains and the southeast into the mid-Atlantic again for Saturday and into Saturday evening on the 12th. 13th comes Sunday. We have maybe some isolated severe weather from the Four Corners region up into the central and northern plains. Some showers over here to the northeast. Otherwise, a lot of us in the Ohio Valley Midwest will be quiet for Sunday. Cold front will come through on Monday and into Tuesday. Could bring another shot at some showers and storms across the western Great Lakes, Midwest, down into the central plains. Some severe weather will be possible there. And once we get to the middle of the week, maybe more severe weather, including areas near Chicago, Grand Rapids, into the areas of Kansas City and St. Louis, back to Wichita, Oklahoma City, and even Amarillo by the time we get to the middle of next week. So between now and next Tuesday on July 15th, right smack dab into the middle of July, we could be seeing potentially a couple main areas of rainfall. Heavy rain to the upper Midwest, especially for Iowa. Could be seeing upwards to 4 inches of rain, and then some pretty heavy moisture from Florida, coastal Georgia, all the way up through much of the Carolinas, Virginia, and the Delmarva region. Widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain, and that could be conservative in some areas, especially if you get under multiple rounds of showers and storms. Drier areas, the northern Ohio Valley into the interior Northeast, and especially out west here, especially for California, very dry. In fact, bone dry through the middle of this month. Now, we are going to be seeing summertime heat. It is the middle of summer after all, but we are going to see record heat building, especially for Phoenix once we get to tomorrow afternoon. 116 is the forecasted high here, and 125 in Death Valley. So make sure you're staying hydrated if you venture outdoors down here in the desert Southwest. You should be used to it in the desert, but this is unusual heat even for the desert here. And then we're going to see triple-digit heat all the way up into eastern Montana, the western Dakotas tomorrow afternoon, 90s in the high plains. And then some of that heat will spread eastward, but then will be replaced by cooler air as a cold front comes through the end of the week. Notice the cooler 70s with lower humidity into the northern plains, upper Midwest by Friday, and then going into Saturday, Sunday, that 70, 80 degree line shifting further east, and then the heat comes right back in those areas once we go into early next week, say by Monday the 14th and Tuesday the 15th, 80s, 90s, surging all the way back up into the plains and the upper Midwest with more, again, widespread triple-digit heat for the desert Southwest. Not only during the day are we going to have to worry about just the heat, but look at our low temperatures tonight going into your Wednesday morning. For Phoenix, 91, and that will be a same story again, 91 for Thursday morning, and some record low warm temperatures across Southern California, Southern Nevada, into Central and Southern Arizona. Our forecast there going all the way through the end of the week. There will be some warm lows as well down toward the deep south with low temperatures in the low to mid 70s. Not record-breaking warm lows, but enough to make it muggy out there as we go through the rest of this upcoming week and into the weekend for low time temperatures. Looking here at the Atlantic currently, we are actually seeing nothing happening as far as the tropics are concerned for the Atlantic or the East Pacific. So that is some great news. But thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we continue to bring you the daily weather forecasts on the channel. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member on social media. And of course, you got any comments, questions, and concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We'll see you tomorrow with another forecast.